Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video we're going to be going over the top teams and what I used to get 119 billion damage on this account. But first of all, we're going to be looking at the SYLVAN squad priority of charms and what you should be upgrading and refining to Mythic Double Plus. First of all, again, massive credit and shout out to Daragon for coming up with this compilation. Okay, so for the S tier we have Lily May Sorcery Charms. She's the #1 hero you want to get. She deals a lot of damage in the SYLVAN squad and also in Dream Realm, so you should have those, and she is a priority to enhance them. Probably one of the first heroes you should be refining her Mythic Plus charms onto. #2 is Lenya. Lenya, she has two different charm options. Now I use Butcher Charms and a lot of people do use Butcher Charms. However, there is a good alternative if, for example, your team is dying too early. So you're gonna have to see and watch your replay or attack and see, is your team dying early? Then maybe Balance Charms could be better for Lenya. But both of these are great charm options. She is also a priority to take to Mythic Double Plus and refine those because she hits really hard in this Thalassa Ravaged Realm. #3 is going to be Dionel. Dionel with the sorcery charms, he is a priority to refine them because he is, so the team that I use to get the 119 billion is using Dionel. Now, if you have Dionel built, then this may be the best team for you. Also, Rekwan shared a replay with me, him using Dionel, getting the top score that he is possibly able to do on his account. So it may be the case that Dionel is the best for you, and then so it is a priority to refine them. But of course, if you don't have Dionel built, you don't not need to use him. There are great teams without him, but he is a priority to enhance his charms up and get the sorcery charms onto him. Okay, A tier. A tier, Pris is an A tier, but honestly, she is also really important to get good charms on. The best charms for her are the Swift charms, and she is a priority to enhance them because she has really high damage output in the SYLVAN squad, and so getting them to Mythic Double Plus will boost your score. And then you have Brian. There are two options. You do not need to enhance him because his damage output is not very high, but he is used in every single team setup, either on the first team or the second team, mainly because of his mythic quality bonus of charms. So try to get him a complete set because then he can also deal a bit more damage. So Ruthless Charms are doing the best for people if you're not having survival issues. Otherwise, Eagle Charms can be good because they give him more HP and then he can survive better. But you can decide between the two of them. Whichever one you have is fine. Moving on to B is we have B tier. We have Leica. Now Leica as well, I don't like Mystic Charms definitely are right for her, but I think she might be a bit more important than the other heroes in B tier, maybe even going to A tier, because from what I realized or noticed from my runs is that by getting Leica to Mystic Charms, it boosted my score by like 4 billion damage because it increases the attack speed buff she applies to all of your allies. Your whole team is benefiting from her charms basically, and so I think she's a really big priority to get Mystic Charms onto ASAP. Floribel Gale Charms, yeah, but some teams aren't even using Floribel, but if you are using her, this can boost your damage a bit, but it's only for her own damage. Haywen, Insight Charms, this is going to give her more tankiness to survive better and more skill power for more healing for your team, which is really important because the first team of SYLVAN squad hits really hard and can kill your team. So that is something that, like, this will help your team survive better. Mystic Charms onto Rainier. Again, you just need the Mythic Charm complete. You don't need to get the exact set. You just want his quality bonus for the attack buff for your back one ally tile behind him. But Mystic are considered the best. Moving on to C tier. So these are basically heroes which are not really used too much. Well, Iron is used in almost every team, #2. However, his charms are not really important. They don't really do much. But if you want to give him, you can give him Cheetah Charms or Mystic Charms. I'm actually running Mystic Charms because that increases his skill power as well, so a bit of higher damage, but Cheetah Charms are better because he can survive better. So Cheetah Charms are the overall recommendation. So for Ulmus, if you're using him here, which he is actually in a good team option, I'm going to show you guys that formation. Arcane Charms are good for him. It boosts his damage the most. And then you have Tassi, who is on Blast Charms, which you should already have for PvP if you're running her, or not only PvP, also for AFK stages. And then Damien, finally, the Heart Charms. I can't remember the name of them. It gives you healing and it gives you ultimate power, I believe is what it gives. But either way, it increases healing effectiveness, which is important if you're running him. However, a lot of the top teams are not running Damien. So let's go ahead and switch. So my overall top team was 119 billion with Dionel, and this is going to be the team formation. I'm first going to walk you through all of the different teams, and then we can watch some of the replays. So here we have Rainier in front of Lenya, giving her the attack buff. Haven behind the Leica, giving her the energy on hit and also the damage reduction, and then Dionel on the other prime carrier buff tile with the greatsword spell. When you look at the damage contribution, Lenya contributes the most, but Dionel contributes a lot as well. And this is kind of why people consider Lenya to have the priority for the charms and also the enhancement, but this is a great team. And for team number 2, you're going to have Lily May contributing the most damage. This is why her charms are really important, and then Prissa contributing the second most damage with the Swift charms, and try to enhance them if possible. So this is the team which did the best for me. Now I'm going to show you the other team options. So the other team which is doing really well for people and competing for the top, like basically top scores, is this team. Almost exactly the same, but you have Leica on the buff tile, so no Dionel. You will not need Dionel for this comp to work. And then you have Brian here as well. Brian is going to increase the damage that the boss takes. I have the Ruthless Charms onto Brian. And yeah, by the way, I'm running all of the charms basically from the priority list. I think all of my charms are in line with that. You could go for Eagle Charms onto Brian if he's having survival issues. Otherwise, you just go for the Ruthless Charms like we have here. Team number 2, Swift Charms onto Prissa, again, Lily May Sorcery Charms, and basically same exact team number 2, no difference. It's just the team number 1 which is different because no Dionel, and instead you're going to be running Leica and Brian rather than Dionel and Leica. And Leica on the buff tile, and she hits pretty hard. She does quite a good amount of damage output, and there you have Lenya. Okay, now moving on to another team option. Now, this is another good team, however, it's using exactly the same heroes, and for me, this is doing having a lower score compared to the previous team I showed you. So, but you can try and see whether this one does better for you. Basically, Lenya and Prissa on the buff tiles. This is very similar to the Dionel comp. You have Rainier in front of the Lenya, you have Leica in front of the Haven, and then rather than Dionel, you have Prissa on the buff tile, and you have Lenya on the right buff tile in this position. Still going to be running the Greatsword spell. And team number 2 is going to be the Resonating spell with Lily May on the tile to give her the Resonating spell artifact, and Brian on the other buff tile. And as for the charms, again, we're running Ruthless, we're running Sorcery and Mystic. But you can experiment. If you see your team dying early, you can go for Eagle Charms onto Brian. And as for Arcane Charms, from the limited testing done, Ruthless Charms are doing a bit better than Arcane Charms for Brian. So if you have a choice, pick Ruthless. However, I don't think there's that much of a difference between the two of them. Okay, now finally we have the final team formation, which is the Almas team. This is a good option, for example, if you're missing Leica. There's no Leica on either of the teams here. There's no Dionel, of course. So this is what I would call the most budget or free-to-play friendly team. And you're going to have Prissa and Brian on the buff tiles, Haven behind the Almas, and Rainier in front of the Brian. And it doesn't do too bad. Basically, Almas doesn't contribute much damage, but he has an interesting quality bonus: increase the target damage taken by 12% after the hero deals damage to the target. And so this is basically the reason he's being used here. And Brian has a different effect. So both Brian and Almas, these effects can stack the amount of increasing the damage taken by the boss. But like, for example, it says that this specific effect can't stack. So for example, if another one had exactly the same mythic quality bonus as Almas, it wouldn't stack. But Brian and Almas's have different effects. They're different wordings and they're different actual effects, so they can stack. But Brian ends up dealing a lot of damage here, and this is where Ruthless Charm probably is going to be giving you an even bigger damage boost. And again, Swift Charms onto the Prissa. But yeah, if you're running this team, honestly, I would say even refining the charms of Brian would be a reasonably high priority as well, because he's actually tying the Prissa for damage. And in the team number 2, it is Resonating spell on the Lily May, Gale Charms on the Floribel, and then Iron in the front with the Mystic Charm. So I only did one run of all of these teams, but the way they stacked up was Dionel did, like I did the first run with Dionel, 118 billion. Then the second best was the Leica and Lenya team, which I showed you second. I got 116 billion. And then 113 billion was this team, basically without this team with Prissa rather than the Dionel, but otherwise really similar to the Dionel comp. And then finally the lower scoring team was the Almas team, but still all of them are within 7 billion damage of each other, so even lower scoring is actually not that low, and it's still a good option. But then I ran the Dionel team a few more times because I wanted to see can we set an all-time record, because the highest scores I've seen for today are from the Dionel team. So we're going to do, actually, rather than just watching the replay, let's do a completely a fresh run, and let's see the team in action. For the second team, if you're running Prissa and Lily May together, it's better to have Prissa with the resonating spell. She does better with it. But if you're running like Lily May and Brian on the buff tiles in team number 2, it's better to have Lily May with the resonating spell. That's basically what has been kind of agreed upon from all of the testing. But there are 4 great teams that you can try here. Hopefully you can put together some of them. If you're still not able to put together them completely, you can mix and match other heroes which are available. For example, Damien could be run in team number 2 rather than Iron, like Damien and then 2 damage dealers in the back. And you could try to run Iron in the first team if you needed to. There are different replacements you can make depending on what heroes you have, but hopefully from these 4 different comps you can come up with the best comp that will work for you. Okay. So 57 billion damage. You're going to see, this is the major issue with SYLVAN squad. There are survival issues. Team number 1 has a difficult time surviving, and that is why if you get balance charms onto Lenya, the insight charms onto Haywin, increasing her tankiness and increasing her healing effectiveness, these are all going to help you if your team is wiping too much in team number 1. And same thing, if you're running Brian and your team is wiping, it's better to be running the Eagle charms onto him rather than the Ruthless charms. And I don't think there's a huge difference in damage output, like maybe only in that one team we showed that has Brian on the buff tile in team number 1 that tied Prissa for damage. Other than that, Brian doesn't contribute like a huge proportion or percentage of the damage of your team, and then it probably doesn't matter which charm he's on. And that's kind of the same thing with Iron. Like if you just went for cheetah charms with him, he would be safer. Okay, look at this. Prissa's getting down low, which is a problem. Yeah, I think she's probably going to die early on in this fight. And this is why if you're running Damien rather than Iron, Prissa could survive for longer potentially in the fight. Because what's going to happen here is Prissa's going to die, and then it will just be up to Lily May and Iron to deal as much damage as they can before the fight ends. Because, yeah, I don't think Prissa's going to take another hit from the boss here. The boss hasn't attacked yet. Here he goes. Okay, wow. How is that happening? So Prissa is actually somehow surviving, like kind of barely, but then she goes down there with like 16 seconds left, which is not bad, honestly. Like, dying there is not really an issue, and this is crazy. Team number 2 is actually getting a higher score than our team number 1. Higher score than Dionel from our team number 2. I think we got really close to a new record. 118. It was really close to 119 billion with that run. So this team is consistently doing really well for me. I want to do one more attempt of the Lenya team with no Dionel, because that was like the second best team for me, and we can actually just skip it right now because team number 2 is the same. Right? Team number 2 is exactly the same as the team that we just ran for the Dionel team, and team number 1 is going to be different, of course. Are you kidding me? Okay, we got 119 billion with this team, so it shows you that Dionel is not really necessary. 119 billion. I didn't think we were going to hit that with this team. So, yeah, okay, well, exactly how much was it? We got like practically 119 flat with Dionel. We almost got 120 here, 119.9. So this might be better than the Dionel team. Yeah, this might be better than the Dionel team, because it almost beat it by 1 billion score, basically. But I guess it is up to RNG, because of the fact that normally it gets around 116 billion, but then occasionally it can get even higher than that. Either way, whichever team that you pick from these two, you can't go wrong with. And if you pick out of all 4 teams, all are going to be pretty good options for you. And that is basically it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. That is going to be it for this video. Good luck getting a top score in the SYLVAN squad, and you can follow the charm priority to exactly know which charms to be focusing on your heroes. Focus on the S tier first, and then focus on the A tier, and refine them, whichever gold box, like if there's a gold box around them, refine those heroes first, and you should be getting a really good score in the SYLVAN squad. But also focus on Mystic charms onto Leica. I think that is, honestly, I would have moved that to the A tier, but overall it is a good priority list. But thanks for watching, guys. I hopefully will see you guys in the next video, and until then, everyone, peace out for now, and I'll see you next time.